At last
AVS
the
Media
immediacy of the
Demo.
kill subsided. The boys drew back, and Jack stood up, holding out his hands. "Look!" He giggled and flinked them while the boys laughed at his reeking palms. Then Jack grabbed Morris and rubbed the stuff over his cheeks. Roger began to withdraw his
AVS
spear,
Media
and the boys
Demo.
noticed it for the first time. Robert stabilized the thing in a phrase which was received uproariously. "Right up her arse. Did you hear? Did you hear what he said? Right up her arse." This time Robert and Morris acted the two parts.
AVS Media
And
Demo.
Morris's acting of the pig's efforts to avoid the advancing spear was so funny that the boys cried with laughter. At length even this palled. Jack began to clean his bloody hands on the rock. Then he started work on the sow and paunched
AVS
her,
Media
lugging
Demo.
out the hot bags of coloured guts, pushing them into a pile on the rock while the others watched him. He talked as he worked. "We'll take the meat along the beach. I'll go back to the platform and invite them to a feast. That should give us time."
AVS
Roger spoke.
Media Demo.
"Chief?" "Uh-huh." "How can we make a fire?" Jack squatted back and frowned at the pig. "We'll raid them and take fire. There must be 4 of you, Henry and you, Bill and Morris. We'll put on paint and sneak up. Roger can
AVS
snatch a branch
Media
while I say
Demo.
what I want. The rest of you can get this back to where we were. We'll build the fire there, and after that—" He paused and stood up, looking at the shadows under the trees. His voice was lower when he spoke again. "But we'll leave
AVS
part of the
Media
kill
Demo.
for—" He knelt down again and was busy with his knife. The boys crowded round him. He spoke over his shoulder to Roger. "Sharpen a stick at both ends." Presently he stood up, holding the dripping sow's head in his hands.
AVS
"Where's that
Media
stick?"
Demo.
"Here. Ram one end in the earth. Oh, it's rock. Jab it in that crack. There." Jack held up the head and jammed the soft throat down on the pointed end of the stick, which pierced through into the mouth.
AVS Media
He stood
Demo.
back, and the head hung there, a little blood dribbling down the stick. Instinctively the boys drew back too, and the forest was very still. They listened, and the loudest noise was the buzzing of flies over the spilled guts.
AVS Media Demo.
Jack spoke in a whisper. "Pick up the pig." Morris and Robert skewered the carcass, lifted the dead weight, and stood ready. In the silence, and standing over the dry blood, they looked suddenly furtive. Jack spoke
AVS
loudly.
Media Demo.
"This head is for the beast. It's a gift." The silence accepted the gift and awed them. The head remained there, dim-eyed, grinning faintly, blood blackening between the teeth. All at once
AVS
they were running
Media
away
Demo.
as fast as they could through the forest towards the open beach. Simon stayed where he was, a small brown image concealed by the leaves. Even if he shut his eyes, the sow's head still remained like an
AVS
Arthur image.
Media Demo.
The half-shut eyes were dim with the infinite cynicism of adult life. They assured Simon that everything was a bad business. "I know that." Simon discovered that he had spoken aloud. He opened his eyes quickly,
AVS Media
and there was
Demo.
the head grinning amusedly in the strange daylight, ignoring the flies, the spilled guts, even ignoring the indignity of being spiked on a stick. He looked away, licking his dry lips. A gift for the beast. Might not
AVS
the beast
Media
come for
Demo.
it? The head, he thought, appeared to agree with him. "Run away," said the head silently. "Go back to the others. It was a joke, really. Why should you bother? You were just wrong, that's all. A little headache, something you ate, perhaps."
AVS
"Go
Media
back,
Demo.
child," said the head, silently. Simon looked up, feeling the weight of his wet hair, and gazed at the sky. Up there for once were clouds, great bulging towers that sprouted away over the island, grey and cream
AVS
and
Media
copper-coloured.
Demo.
The clouds were sitting on the land. They squeezed, produced moment by moment this close, tormenting heat. Even the butterflies deserted the open space where the obscene thing grinned and dripped. Simon lowered
AVS
his
Media
head,
Demo.
carefully keeping his eyes shut, then sheltered them with his hand. There were no shadows under the trees, but everywhere a pearly stillness, so that what was real seemed elusive and without definition. The pile of guts was a black blob of
AVS
flies that
Media
buzzed
Demo.
like a saw. After a while these flies found Simon. Gorged, they alighted by his runnels of sweat and drank. They tickled under his nostrils and played leapfrog on his thighs. They were black and iridescent green and
AVS
without
Media
number.
Demo.
And in front of Simon, the Lord of the Flies hung on his stick and grinned. At last Simon gave up and looked back, saw the white teeth and dim eyes, the blood, and his gaze was held by that ancient, inescapable recognition.
AVS Media Demo.
In Simon's right temple, a pulse began to beat on the brain.